So one of the things that I'm noticing is that I don't know if it's to do with the 59.6 energy particularly, but it's like I get this, it's almost like a pressure, but it's not really a pressure as in the root pressure or mental pressure. It's just that, so I kind of feel like it's a bit like being pregnant and then you need to give birth. So there's pressure that something has to come out, like it can't stay within the body anymore. It's like it's time for something to be born. And the 59.6 is my only channel, so I often relate to this because obviously the channel is about reproduction. So I often relate to my process being as if I'm pregnant and I need to give birth. And that is to do with whatever is happening inside of me, whatever I need to express needs to be expressed in that same way. So there's certain pressure. But in like, like I'm imagining when you're delivering a child, unless you figure it out what the sex of the child's going to be beforehand, you don't know what you're going to give birth to. So in the same way, like I just feel this pressure that something needs to come out, but I don't really know what's going to come out of me. So I'm just like delivering something and who knows what. But I'm noticing that today is one of those days when I have a lot of, like, I just feel like I need to speak out. And being emotional is a funny thing because like there's so many things that I'm processing at the same time. The process is very bodily sensation, like everything is happening in the physical body, the chemistry, the emotions, they're moving within the body. But of course, the body and the mind, I mean, the emotions and the mind is closely related. And an example is that if you look at the human design mandala, the wheel, and you divide it by quarters, and you look at the quarter of initiation, which is purpose fulfilled through mind, all the gates of the solar plexus, the emotional center, except for the six, are in the quarter of mutation, a quarter of initiation. So it is a mental process at the same time. It doesn't mean that it's mental process only. It's first and foremost is a body thing, but the mind will always reflect on that. And you begin to see this if you start your experiment and you, no matter what your type is, but especially if you're emotional and you get into this waiting process, is what happens when you stop behaving the way you used to behave or reacting or making decisions from that uh, mental aspect, and you begin that waiting process. What you see is that becomes so uncomfortable because the mind gets in there. So as I'm wading through my emotions and feeling about stuff, my mind is constantly working something out. And the trick is not to take the mind seriously because it would like to come up with all kinds of stuff. So, for example, now that I have this pressure to deliver, my mind has all kinds of thoughts that it thinks it wants to talk about. Like I have so many subjects that I feel like I need to address, and because I have this emotional energy to deliver, to put something out, to express myself, if I go into whatever those things that are going on in my head and I try to deliver that, the energy is not matching because uh, I can't navigate with my mind anymore. So even if I have millions of things that I do want to say, this energy, particularly that I have right now, doesn't seem to be about any of those things that I have in my head. So literally, I have to just let go and allow this need to express myself to just come out as clean as possible and not attach any thought pattern to it and just see what my body is going to talk about. And it's funny because there are a couple of things that I know that I really want to speak about, and it's like it almost feels like it's the right time, but it isn't because it's not coming out right. So that's something interesting to notice, is that the frequency of my emotions and the need to express and be creative, even though it's directly linked to the mind and consciousness, it's still not like I still can't maneuver it with my mind. Like I really have to let go of my body and allow that to speak whatever it's going to speak about. And I find that curious. But I totally have this need to express, and sometimes it can be almost paralyzing because it's like there's this need to, like, almost like it's going to come out, it's going to come out, but then you're trying to help it with by thinking like, okay, maybe I can talk about this so that it will get released. I'm imagining, so I never given birth, so I don't know this from my experience, but I have watched many of my friends, women who've gone through the process, and there is an uncomfortableness around, a couple of days or even a couple of weeks before you're actually going to give birth. Is that you're so full and you know that the baby's going to come out soon and you're getting uncomfortable, but it's not coming out yet. It's kind of like that energy that I feel, is when I feel this need to express and it's uncomfortable. So I'm thinking in my mind that if I just come up with the subject to talk about, I can push this out. But it doesn't work like that because my mind can't navigate. I mean, I could, but I mean, it's just not comfortable and it's not actually working. So I have to let go of all those things that I think I want to say and all those things that I think I want to talk about. Just forget about them, no matter how pressing or how important I think they are, and just allow my body to express whatever is here to express. And because life is about letting go, right? Life is very much about letting go. So I feel like I have to let go of all those thoughts that I think I want to express in order to actually be able to say something. So I have to come to a place where I just completely uh, that I'm going to be completely okay if none of those things that I'm thinking about are ever going to be said, and just allow this body to do whatever it's doing. And that's like makes me think of the 59.6. Like it's one of the channels that is classed as a creative channel. And the ways that we can be creative is that we can't pre-plan it. Like creativity is something that just emerges. I mean, it's not doesn't emerge out of nothing, but it kind of seems like it does. But really, like if you're really getting into creative process, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what the outcome is. That's why it's creative. So in a way, expression for me is that. And I also have the eighth gate in my throat center, which is individual gate. So there's obviously this kind of individual uh, creative expression happening in there as well. So there's absolutely no way that I can dictate anything in my head about what I'm going to talk about. The only other option that I can kind of like, if I really get in there, like, okay, if there's a subject that I know that I'm going to talk about, it has to come out in response because I'm a generator. So if you happen to ask me a question about, like, do you want to talk to me about, let's say, projectors, for example, and my body gets an then stuff can come out of me as a, around that subject. But if, for example, I'm sitting here and I want to record a video about projectors because that's something I want to do in my mind, doesn't mean that my energy is ready for it. I can't. It has to come in a response. And if it's not a response, but there's something coming out of me anyway, then I just need to let it come out and not know what's going to come out of me. So yeah, I found that as a curious thing. And yeah, that's what came out of me today. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.